beneath the ice, beneath the pine. I know the rhythm keeps the time, drumming the earth, breath in the stone. This northern land is not alone. From tundra bare to cedar line, from prairie gold to granite spine, where northern lights in silence bend and winter never meets its end.
The most remote places in Canada don't always give answers back. Sometimes they only give what's left. Deep in the Nahanni Valley, disappearances don't stay that way for long, because when people are found here, they aren't complete. Some say it's the land, some say it's men, and some say there's something else living there entirely. A lone apex predator, the Waheela. You heard the Nahanni Valley was a place you had to see for yourself, so you came. The river moves cold and steady through stones, the forests crowded with dark spruce and pine, and the air carries that clean, untouched stillness you'd never find in the city. At first it's peaceful, the kind of quiet that makes you think you're completely alone. But it doesn't stay that way. The silence lingers too long. No birds break it, no insects hum beneath it. Even the wind seems to pull back, like something in the valley has claimed the space, and everything else has learned to stay out of its way. Then you see animal tracks. They sink deeper into the ground and are far larger than they should be, spaced with a slow, deliberate stride. Your breathing shortens, each inhale catching just a little too tight as your body starts to lock in place. And then it hits you. That sharp, instinctive warning. The hair raises along the back of your neck, a cold ripple that moves faster than thought. You don't look right away. You don't need to. Something is there. And then it steps out of the brush. Not a wolf. Too big, too heavy, but close enough that your mind tries to force it into something familiar. Its shoulders roll with a dense, unnatural weight. Its pale fur hanging thick and uneven, draining the light around it. It moves without sound, each step sinking deep into the earth, like the tracks you found. Claws curving out past the fur, worn and dark at the tips. It doesn't rush, it just looks at you. And the second its golden eyes settle, your pulse slams hard enough to make your chest ache. Your legs weaken, unresponsive, like they've disconnected from you entirely. You try to breathe, but it sticks in your throat. Then it shifts. One step, then another, and suddenly it's closing the distance, silent, fast, and unstoppable. Your body tries to react, too late. Panic crashing through you as it lunges. Its jaws opening wider than they should, teeth sharp and jagged. And in that final instant, you understand with absolute clarity, you were never meant to leave. The Waheela isn't just another wolf you'd find in the Great White North. In the stories tied to the Nahanni Valley, it's described as a wolf in shape, but everything about it breaks the rules. Wolves rely on packs. It's how they hunt, how they survive. But the Waheela, in all accounts, doesn't. It moves independently. It's described as larger than any wolf should be, Not just big, but wrong. Too much mass, too much presence, built like something that doesn't need to fear anything around it. It doesn't chase, it's smart. It watches, it chooses, and when it moves, it's over. In many interpretations, it isn't entirely physical either. The Waheela sits somewhere between animal and spirit. And that's where its meaning starts to take shape. Because it isn't just a creature, it's a boundary. A representation of the parts of the land that aren't meant to be crossed. The areas that don't welcome you. It doesn't exist to hunt everything, it exists to respond when something enters that shouldn't. And that idea becomes a lot more important when you look at what happened next. Because in the early 1900s, when prospectors pushed into the Nahanni searching for gold, they weren't following those rules. They went deeper, took more, and stayed longer than they were meant to. And that's when the stories began to shift. One of the most documented encounters comes from the summer of 1965. A man by the name of Frank Graves traveled through the region and spent time among the indigenous communities of Nahanni Butte. At first, he met their warnings about hunters returning shaken with skepticism. But over time, as trust formed, he was shown what was left behind. Cabins, rifles, and much more. The implication was clear without ever being fully stated. Something in those woods had driven people out, or kept them from returning at all. Later, he went hunting with his indigenous friend, who had brought his dog along to flush out game. Graves waited alone with his shotgun on a small rise above the tree line, as his partner and dog moved into the forest below. Some time passed, and he noticed movement in the brush. At first, he assumed it was the dog, but what emerged was something far larger. He mistook it for a polar bear, but quickly realized it was some kind of wolf. He fired at close range. Both shots appeared to land, but the creature didn't react. It simply turned and walked back into the trees as if untouched. He reloaded and fired again. The creature continued walking, as if nothing had happened. When his companion returned and heard what he had seen, the reaction was immediate, and with silent urgency, they left. Only afterward was Graves told what it was. Something tied to disappearances and the headless remains in the valley. It's easy to pass off as a campfire myth until you start noticing how often the same patterns still show up. That's what makes the Waheela difficult to fully dismiss as simple folklore. That same uncertainty is what defines the older Headless Valley accounts of the Nahanni. Prospectors and trappers moved through a landscape that erased certainty as quickly as it produced it. Men would vanish between camps, routes would break down without clear cause, and recoveries, when they happened at all, often came back headless. Over time, the valley stopped being described as just remote and instead became described as unstable in a narrative sense. A place where the act of trying to understand what happened is almost always met with contradiction. The Waheela is a representation of that wilderness, one that refuses to be mapped, predicted, or made familiar. Something that doesn't just move through the landscape, but actively resists definition, slipping through the structures we use to make sense of the unknown. As for how it can be stopped or killed, most accounts avoid anything concrete, and that ambiguity is part of what keeps the legend intact. Some versions suggest it can be driven off through sustained fire, noise, or group presence. Anything that disrupts isolation. But even in those accounts, it's never described as defeat, only distance. And with something like this, being driven off isn't the same as being gone. Often described as one of the most haunted regions in all of Canada, the Nahanni Valley isn't defined by a single legend. None of the things that occur here are fully resolved. On paper, it's just a valley in the Northwest Territories. River systems cutting through ridgelines, long stretches of boreal forest, and terrain that should behave like any other remote wilderness. But accounts refuse to stay consistent. Routes don't always connect the way they should, landmarks shift slightly, and distances seem to change. It's the kind of place that resists being finalized in memory, as if it doesn't hold still long enough to be carried back out in a single, reliable version. Long before it was made popular through gold rush disappearances or modern cryptid interpretations, the valley was already part of lived knowledge for the Dene peoples. Their histories and oral traditions move through the land in ways that don't separate geography from meaning. In those understandings, the landscape is not empty or passive. It's layered with memory, responsibility, and warning shaped by generations of survival within it. Later Headless Valley accounts and outsider reports don't replace that perspective so much as they overlap it, often stripped of the context that already existed in how the land was spoken about and moved through. The Waheela, in that sense, becomes less a singular creature and more a modern lens placed over something older and more complex. An attempt to describe what happens when the wilderness is no longer being read through the same set of rules that have guided people there for generations. The deeper pattern isn't about what's been proven or disproven there. It's the consistency of people coming back with less clarity than they left with. And whether that's interpreted as myth, misperception, or something else entirely, the result is the same in every version of the story. The valley doesn't really let itself be known. And that's why the Waheela has stayed the way it has. Not because there's agreement on what it is, but because the uncertainty itself is consistent. So whether you treat them as physical predators or spiritual warnings, the effect is the same. People disappear, camps are abandoned, and whatever caused it is never really gone. It just steps back into the tree line. Next time, we'll be heading to Lake Superior, a place that doesn't give up her dead and has something in its depths guarding what lies below, no matter how much time passes. This has been What Lurks North. Stay safe out there.
Beneath the ice, beneath the pond, we walk their ground, they walk in